Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Sifu Messiah. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links can be found in the description for everything we discuss, so let's get on with it. So we are continuing from part 1. This is the second part of Star Citizen Sunday, which includes the Starliner Q&A part 2 and the monthly report for June. I'd just like to say a quick thank you to all patrons, as you are really helping make these Star Citizen Sunday videos possible. If you are interested in becoming a patron, head over to our Patreon page using the link in the description. Thank you. So we also have the second part to the Starliner Q&A, so I'll continue on with these new questions. The first one being, will there be NPC-controlled scheduled galactic carriers that you could work for? And they say yes. This is an easy way to generate missions for pilots who might not be able to afford their own. Meridian Transit is one of these companies, and they envision hiring pilots who have earned their commercial license in the Persistent universe. You would draw a salary with a performance-based modifier rather than earning credits from individual NPC tickets. And obviously a bad performance means you won't be invited back. So next question, will you have to watch passengers from a first person perspective to observe their needs only? And they say they imagine two processes for this. The player as a character who is located in the back with the passengers, sort of as a flight attendant for instance, who can observe their needs in a first person, but also an operating panel within the cockpit with holo footage and other informational readouts. The first one would be for players with more than one real player, so you can have your pilot as well as a flight attendant as a real player in the back, checking up on everyone, but with the latter example being for solo pilots. So if you are the only person, the real player on your ship, then you can have the holo footage, allowing you to see how people are reacting. So, third question is, can we reconfigure the interior between flights? Maybe have a high class first and then change out for a mixed class seating on the next flight? And he said it wouldn't be especially difficult. You'll need to modify the internals of the ship using a holo viewer style, same way as you do the exterior hardpoints with your holo table, but you'll need to plan the change beforehand to ensure that the needed stock is at your destination, as you can only carry in a limited supply of alternate seats. So it sounds like you can actually have first, second, third seats in reserve in maybe a storage area, which you can then swap out. But if you get to a certain destination and you can buy those seats, then you can probably swap them out there and then. So, moving on, will there be UEE regulations governing passenger transport, and will this determine which ships can be used for passenger transporting, or how many passengers can actually be transported? They will not put any restrictions in place, but rather allow the NPC passengers to balance it out. Some might be willing to fly in the co-pilot seat on a Caterpillar, while the majority would probably prefer the commercial transport. And they did mention there will be a more in-depth passenger mechanic Q&A in the future. So next question is, what are the passenger boarding security mechanics like for passenger transport? And it said the boarding process will involve the same security scan recently developed for customs checkpoints, which you have seen previously. So next question is, will we be piloting the Starliner directly or following a plotted course? And they say it's a combination of the two, which is good. You will plot the most effective course in which they need to refuel or resupply and drop and pick up passengers, which would make sense, and if you are running a proper business, then that's the best way to do it. But you can break out of autopilot at any time, so if you are getting attacked, then perhaps it's easier to just go to your own controls and move out the way. So next question is, will the Starliner chassis also be usable as a medical class ship? And they say they haven't done any work on the hospital variant, but with the modular medical equipment, they expect players may build it themselves. Work has been done on a prisoner transport variant, which they say would be a good base model for the medical ship. Now I personally think that's very cool. I can't wait to see these ships carrying prisoners. Maybe the pirates would want to bust out a particular prisoner. Very cool. I like the idea of that. Anyway, next question is, obviously the ship is important to the Persistent universe, but how will it benefit the players? Quite an obvious answer, I would have thought. They say it's mainly an economic resource and a relatively safe way to earn credits. The Persistent universe wants the players to have many options to make money. Starliners could serve as a base as well, maybe a flying headquarters or a heavily protected guild transport. So second to last question is, why are there seats and sleep pods? Wouldn't it be better to incorporate life pods, restraints for takeoff and landing, and sleeping area into one place? And they say the seats are for liftoff and landing. They designed it to better fit logically and aesthetically with the norm of travel as it is now. They would love to actually challenge the community, they say, to make the ultimate Starliner. Now, it sounds like this is a sort of informal challenge. They say they want you to explain its role, its purpose, and give an interior layout, and the winner that gets chosen, CIG will build that ship. They say, though, don't add any additional hard points and only use the stock model as a base, so it sounds like that's a challenge, so go for it if you feel up to it. Anyway, last question is, why does it have manned turrets? Wouldn't automated turrets and countermeasures make more sense for a purely defensive ship. And they explain that the current hardpoint is a size 5, which can accommodate a size 4 remote gimbal, and that can be fired from the gunner's station, which is a really nice idea. So you would have your little stations in the cockpit or on the bridge. One of you would be a gunner with this automated turret. But also the Starliner has countermeasures, and the turret is designed more as a deterrent. The pilot or the owner may hire crew or have friends man various stations, and it sort of got me thinking that it would be worth, if you had a huge Starliner or one where it would be viable enough to actually employ maybe a security crew, not just pilots with Hornets, but maybe more manpower sort of security detail to walk around your ship, because you never know who you may have on board. You may need protection, and plus if you get boarded you'd need the extra manpower. I don't think a flight attendant would be capable of grabbing a gun and fighting off boarders, so it would be definitely a good idea for an organisation to maybe set up a security detail for the Starliner. Just a thought. Anyway, that's the Q&A part 2. Tell me your thoughts on everything. Let's get on to the monthly report. So, with the transition from June to July, the inevitable monthly report was due, and this basically goes through all the different studios within working on Star Citizen and just explains what they've been focusing on in June. So let's get on with it. They first start off by saying they're excited as everything they've been working on or working towards is finally happening. They will soon be able to show it to us. Not just the FPS, but multi-crew and the persistent universe, which is very exciting. And I mean, Christ, I'm just excited for the FPS. Let's just get that here first. Anyway, starting with the CryEngine studio in Santa Monica, engineering have been integrating bug fixes for FPS and Arena Commander. They have continued work on the Radar 2.0 system, and UI are working hard on upcoming ship designs and implementation, specifically glitch effects on the Vandal Human Scythe boot up. They have begun prep for multi-crew spawning and multiplayer hangars, and have started bug fixing the AI, specifically wingmen commands like defend my target. So design are incredibly busy with upcoming ships, modes, gameplay needs, etc. And in order to make the Connie flyable, they have overhauled the thrusters. They have fixed many bugs on other ships like the Hornet, the Mustang Delta and the Retaliator. So the art department are focusing mainly on the Merlin, which went through its final art pass, and it's now with design to get flight ready. They have kicked off the first stages of getting the Bengal carrier exterior whiteboxed and in-game engine, making sure all flight ready ships get the new damage tech, which I'm very excited to see. And they expect the Human Scythe in Arena Commander very soon. They have revamped characters for FPS and all other modules, and now are ready to step up the character visual fidelity and take a massive leap into Star Citizen's character's future. And they have given the first 3D look at Marine uniforms, whether it's the, say, Bridge Officer or BDUs, they're all looking top notch. The Genesis Starliner now has the first concept design for flight attendants, and the Vandal have got a lot tougher with new armor set concepts, as if they don't look scary enough. So, on to the CryEngine studio in Austin. They say concepts of statues and large machinery for the Nix Delamar Levski system have started. They are fleshing out the Levski market area, which looks very cool, I'm sure. I think we've got an image of that. And they are concepting out the military personnel. They've also designed the badges, medals and materials, which we will see in the final game, and they are wrapping up the final detail passes on Levski, and it's beginning to look very dark and gritty, they say. They are revising the customer scanner effects, and next month Levski should be wrapped up and ready to show off. So by next month, I hope they mean this month, because this was June's anyway. Stanton, Art Core and Area 18 landing zone had a huge focus. Character teams have wrapped up the starter ball characters and helmets, and they look amazing apparently. They are wrapping up work on the new female skeleton and polishing animations for the social module. Also standardizing animations for ship concepts and the enter and exit. So they're also brainstorming and fleshing out ideas for persistent universe occupations, and they have wrapped up the initial designs for bounty hunter, mercenaries and pirate occupations. They have drafted up design for the smuggler and search and rescue occupations, and they're working on first major steps to getting the NPCs to interact with objects in Star Citizen. They're also diving into the initial layouts and designs for the next landing zone after Levski. They haven't told us what it will be, but they did say they're focused on another landing zone within Stanton. And the back and forth between Hurston, Microtech and Crusader, whether or not that means they can't decide which one to choose, I don't know. Anyway, planning and support for upcoming releases and the Gamescom demo is being worked out. I'm excited to see what they've got planned for Gamescom. They say a lot of focus on server optimization with some great progress. And they are working on the proof of concept functional prototypes for some occupations. Now, the social and planet-side modules are continuing in testing. They're investigating ways to prevent potential hacks and exploits, which I'm sure many people will try. And they continue testing Alpha 1.2.0 and testing the multiplayer hangars, large play areas, and multi-crew systems. So it's all getting tested, hopefully to show us soon. They're working on performance optimization, and they initiated the early testings for Windows 10 as well, which I believe comes out at the end of the month. So the new Star Citizen launcher version is coming soon, and 2.1, they'll have faster downloads, they'll have smaller patches, the download speeds has improved. 3.0 has a UI overhaul, which they say will be close to the final version, and they say new build servers are almost done, which increase work efficiency greatly. So onto Foundry 42 in the UK. They are working on enemy AI actions, including stepping and running into cover and reacting to grenades. They are working on an AI communication system, in particular Warlord and Vixen from the dogfighting module, and Cockpit Bitching Betty, or your little friend that tells you what's going on, is supposed to be getting smarter. Also UI for tactical visors, and the looting is getting worked on, which will use augmented reality from your Mobiglass. And they're also performing an iteration on the visor displays for Star Marine. Each helmet type will have a unique look and feel. They're working on multi-crew ships, Captain being able to delegate or lock out various controls to co-pilots or the turret gunners, for example, and they're planning to allow players to customize their displays in their cockpit, so you can have it as you like. They are working on ways to get better performance in such areas as asteroids fields. They say it's come along well, and this is very important because there will be lots of stuff cluttering up the environment. They also say they're seeing how far they can push the facial animation technology while retaining a good frame rate. They're hoping to start face rendering R&D next month and look to share the results, be it good or bad. Ooh. They are flat out on Squadron 42. All levels are looking more and more polished. Tech design teams working on FPS weapon balancing and getting the Vandal fleet in engine. They're finalising multifunctional displays in cockpits, totally scalable from single-man ships to capital ships, and they say that it's urgently needed for Gamescom, so that might give us an insight as to what's to come. They're trying to get the first implementation of the quantum jumping to allow more speedways of navigating through the new large world technology. So the art department are working on the Bengal Bridge and mining bot, and additional work on the Bearing ballistic shotgun and the giant transport ship and Vandal fleet is happening, and further concept definition to add to the Shuban mining base, and a few pirate bases needed for Squadron 42 storyline. So the Retaliator is being worked on to get it flight ready. The Argo RUV is reaching final art, but it's excluding the pods, which needs revision for cinematics. Again, could this be Gamescom? The address, they say, is looking very good in places. I'm not sure what they mean by in places. And the Cutlass started in its new grey box. The mining bot is going into textures and material stage. The Starfarer, they say, is going slower than they would like, as it's more complex than they expected, unfortunately. And the Bengal Bridge will start once concepts are signed off. So there's progress on hangars, control rooms, corridors, airlocks, and exterior landing pads. And they say all of them can be traversed seamlessly. Visual effects are working hard on getting more ships flight ready. They're just working mainly on thrusters, weapons and damage, and they began focus on the Star Marine weapon effects. So, on to Foundry 42 in Frankfurt. They have worked on many important items this month, including large world, camera relative, and zone systems. All of these are back-end things that we don't really get to see, but they have a big impact, so it's good that they're getting on with them. They say there's a large effort on supporting multi-crew vehicle ships, and they are really helping out with CryEngine implementation of many systems. Also, designers spent much time building a level for Squadron 42, assisting with the FPS module release, and building AI behaviour trees for FPS and the Position universe, also reviewing Squadron 42 missions. They say their animation guy, which they have only got one, is focused on supporting cinematics. Audio has hooked up the EVA thrusters and ship shield impacts to use in the WY system, which is their new audio system. And also, visual effects are working on Squadron 42 effects, including a giant plasma drill, which is used to break up the asteroids into smaller pieces for resource extraction. So, Behaviour are adding support of multi-crew ships in the lobby UI. They're also working to add a bit of functionality to online hangars, and adding some features and a level of polish to the augmented reality experience with the Mobiglass, as well as pretty much the whole shopping experience. Design is setting up elevators and doors for Nix, and they're also setting up various functions, sort of dynamic spawning, Mobiglass AR tags, text string localization, all for items which will appear in the Kasaba outlet. They're also improving materials and textures and dressing the environment to ensure each room tells a story, and have added details on how clothing will be placed on the shelves. Ilphonic are focused on getting the core locomotion as solid as they can. Star Marine will report stats in the same way as Arena Commander will, and they're working on 5 different movement speeds which have been implemented, and they say this will make moving with a controller very fluid and variable. Animation are working hard on the start, stops and jukes system, which I get the impression that all departments are within Ilphonic. It sounds like a real ball breaker does this start, stops, jukes, and it's getting finalised hopefully. Art have optimised all assets off of the Gold Horizon station, and design are making numerous tweaks on the Gold Horizon level to allow more fluid gameplay. So on to Turbulent. They have completed the main art for the Star Map Viewer. This includes galaxy and system views. They've said they've made good progress on the Galactopedia, and the Community Hub has entered final stretch, which allows the community to upload their own pictures, galleries, and YouTube play sessions, which sounds very cool. So Moon Collider, who are working on the AI, are making good use of the stunt splines, which allows AI to navigate through very tight areas. So it could be a tunnel in an asteroid or even a section of a space station. And they say if a player is chasing the AI and it locates a stunt spline code close by, it will navigate towards that in order to escape. But it will only use the spline if it seems like a good idea at the time. It will not just suddenly change direction or its speed to try and get to it. It'll only use it if it's necessary. They also say that some AI pilots will be better than others, so you will need to determine whether you're capable or not to follow it through these little tight corners. Anyway, that was it for the monthly report. Now, it's quite big and I've tried to bullet point it to try and get as much information in as short a time as possible. I hope it's all comprehensive. Tell me your thoughts on everything mentioned. I'm genuinely interested. Okay, so on a final note, we have affiliated with Razer as we feel they make excellent gaming products, and if you want to help our channel out, plus buy amazing hardware, use the link in our description and we'll get a little kickback every time a product is bought. So yet again we have come to the end of the show. I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers and a massive thank you to all our patrons. You are truly helping our channel grow. If you are interested or able to help us out in way of a monthly donation from as little as $1 to any amount you deem fit, check out our Patreon page in the description. This really helps our channel to create more videos, better quality videos, and it allows us to get better hardware, better software, plus it allows us to spend more time on creating the videos. Don't forget to subscribe, comment if you have anything to say, show me the love by hitting the like button and share it with all your friends and enemies. Thank you for watching and I shall see you in next week's show.